Alright guys, so it is Saturday and it is time to get this build underway. First thing I gotta do is clean up the room and kind of get this whole section over here situated to start planning out how this new rack system is gonna fit in. So it's time for a time lapse. You know, when doing these types of things, it is always the least expected thing that holds you up. So my vacuum died, started smoking on me. I can't permanently put my rack system there until it gets all cleaned up, so obviously things are somewhat on hold. So either I get a new vacuum, fix the one I get, or elsewhere. Now luckily, I can keep working because I'm not planning on permanently putting the rack system there just yet. I'm just measuring and making space for it now, but yeah, that's life. Unbelievable.
Alright, so we ran into problem number two. Problem number two is there is no way I'm going to fit my rack system in that corner while at the same time having my tortoise table and my ball python stand all in the same general vicinity. So either that guy is going to have to go on my wife's side of the room for God knows how long, because this project's going to take weeks, maybe even a few months. She's not gonna like that. Or put him completely outside of the blue room, which is also not acceptable. So I have to find a way to fit this rack system in here while keeping these two things also in the room. Yeah. Complications. So I'll have to figure that out, and I will B-roll this thing until that happens. Alright, so I figured out what I'm going to do. The floor is clean, literally almost by hand, because I had to take the nozzle of the vacuum and clean out pretty much the entire floor by hand. So I'm already sweating just from vacuuming. And I moved Piper's cage all the way over to the wall, which takes up a minimum amount of her side of the room. And I'm going to keep the tortoise table right where it is, because moving that's a pain, because I have to move the tank, and then I have to move the tortoise table separately. And that's kind of heavy already as it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the rack system long ways right here. So basically kind of in an aisle formation with the current tortoise table. And since I'm going to be doing stuff and working on that, it doesn't matter that it's situated where it's going to be, because I'm going to need to be able to get all the way around that rack system anyways. So I'm going to build it right here and kind of keep out of her section. And then that way, once I know exactly how I'm going to get the thing built, I can then move it into position when I'm ready. By simply just moving it back, sliding that one out, and moving that one where it needs to go. So, I don't know how much is going to be in this video for this week, or how these are going to come out, but that's it for now.
We're getting another one! Another what? Another one. Another what? Another one. Another that? What, these? No. Maybe, but Bobby said he's going to build a cage. For who? Who do you think? Boy! I said if we're getting another one, what does that mean? Another cage. No. But he's making a pet! We're getting another pet. Guess what it's going to be? I'll give you one hint. It's a reptile. And we already have one. A gecko? A turtle? Snake. Another snake! He's making another cage for a snake. Yeah, I'm guessing he's going to put it right here. No, I don't think he...
Alright guys, I got the first level down on this little rack that I'm building here. You can see the kind of rack system that I purchased for this. And the reason why I decided to use this type of rack system and not build my own basically shelving system was because I can sit here and change how tall this is relatively quickly by just unlocking those and making that change. The boards are, well, each shelving level is rated to hold, I believe, anywhere between 300 and 500 pounds, equally distributed, and not in the center, obviously, which the substrate and everything is going to be obviously equally distributed, and the heaviest parts, the background, and probably any type of anything else are going to be around the borders where there is the shelving hooks. So and obviously each one of these levels
isn't going to be reaching, you know, 400 or 500 pounds. So this is more than enough to hold all of the different terrariums, and I'm going to be able to play around with the different heights for each section. So this bottom section, I'm planning on using this for the tortoise, and I'm suspecting I'm going to need about 15 inches of height so that I can have enough substrate at the bottom and enough space at the top for lighting. But I may move that up depending on how high I want the substrate to be, and depending on whether or not I'm doing levels, I'm going to need to be able to adjust that height. I also want to be able to see, you know, since this is going to be at the bottom and still relatively a display, I want to be able to see the depth of the enclosure. So I might make it a little bit taller, and then some of the higher ones might be a little bit thinner. So the idea right now is to make this bottom one for Tortoise. So I am looking at his current height, and the current height of his enclosure is about 15 inches high. So I am going to leave this one at about 16 inches high, or one ribbit above 15, and kind of see what kind of visibility I have and what kind of spacing I have. And I think this is perfect for that type of system. Then what I'll be able to do is, once I have my spacings mapped out and I can kind of visualize how big or how tall these individual racks are going to be, I can then come around and just buy a plywood board, the rectangular shape of the back of this rack system. So I'll buy a board that goes that way all the way up to the top, and I can just bolt that on to the missing rivets here. So I'll just screw in a bolt, and I'll be able to screw in the back panel and the side panels right on to the exterior of this rack system. So not only will that be easy to do, because all I have to do is place the board against this and drill a hole and bolt that side pieces on. That's going to be a lot easier than trying to build a box. Also, additionally, it'll be easier to take apart. If I ever want to dismantle this and move it, or just reconfigure it in any way, back to that same idea, I can just remove these bolts and this whole thing can come apart. And I can remove the shelving again and make changes later on. So one of the big things I want to do when building this is not make it so heavy and so permanent that I can't, you know, do anything with it. I don't want it to be an overly permanent fixture on the corner of the room. Once everything is put in place, yes, it's going to be too heavy to move. It's not going to be easily dismantleable, you know, once you have everything in place, but it is possible, versus me building a box, literally, you know, I don't know how tall, you know, 6 feet tall, enclosed, screwed in. Moving that thing is going to be nearly impossible at that point. You're going to need 2 people, and it's going to be a pain in the butt. This is still going to take a lot of time to dismantle, but it'll be possible. So I'm going to keep going, and we'll see how far we get. Peace.
We finished.
There we have it. Rack system. Now, I'm not sure why I've never seen anyone on YouTube use one of these before. They're super simple to put up. I put this up in less than half an hour. No tools. The only thing you need is a simple hammer. That's it.
And maybe even some of this.
Yeah, well, the ruler was just so that I could measure out the distances for each of the enclosures to see how I wanted to space them out.
Stop.
But beyond that, I mean, less than 30 minutes. All you need is this. So that's the plan.
Poppy,
And
just to let you know, whenever you get the blue tongue skink, it's gonna stink in here.
it's not a blue tongue stink. Now you got me saying it wrong. It's not a blue tongue stink. It's a blue tongue skink.
I know, those...
They don't stink. It sounds the same, but it's not the same thing. They don't stink.
No, it's not the same thing.
Unless I don't clean the cage.
Ew.
But then all of these would stink if I don't clean the cage.
Well, then clean the cage. I have one question, though. How are you going to move this? Unless you're just going to like, put a bunch of glass around it. But are you going to move this?
Sort of. What do you mean by move it?
Like,
I'm gonna move it from there, yes. I'm not going to keep that though.
Oh, you're not going to keep this cage?
No, I'm gonna build him a new cage at the bottom. I'm not just gonna put that cage on the bottom.
Oh.
I'm gonna build this whole bottom section right here. You see where that board is?
Yeah.
That entire board is gonna be his new home. So I'm gonna put boards on the outside.
Well, can you make sure like something that like here is something that we can see through? Because I like looking at animals.
Yeah, so his is gonna have, I don't know, his might be open or it might be a glass. That part is still to be identified.
So Poppy. Okay. So basically, you're gonna keep that cage, but turning it into something else. No, he's not gonna keep that cage.
That cage is gonna go away.
Which is pretty sad because it was honestly a really good cage. You could like hold things on the side. He had his little room that he could go in if he wanted to be alone. Where's the turtle right now? He's inside his little room. And also you could like put things on the side like his food and stuff. Even though we don't do that.
Oh, like on the top shelving
Yeah.
thing over there? Yeah, I store stuff on top of his little house.
Yeah, see?
Yeah. But that's okay, I'm gonna have space behind Blue's and it's gonna be hidden. Because Blue's cage I'm keeping. I'm keeping him in there. His tank is just gonna go on top. His tank is I'm just gonna put his tank on top.
Which would make sense because we barely even see him in one day anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. Yeah, see?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that because it's gonna be a little bit high and we're never gonna really see him. So, I don't know. If I put Blue up there, we'll never see the guy.
Unless you like grab like a chair.
Yeah. So that's still to be determined, but so far so good. I mean, even this, what I'm suggesting is going to be the king snake right here is literally what? At face level. So you need to add in substrate
Yeah.
and a thing. I mean, we're talking.
I saw this at his job.
This is going to already be a little bit of a stretch
Because it was funny.
just to kind of get in there.
I had clean hair, Mommy.
But we'll make it work. I could always lower this here and make this one lower. But the reason why there's a big gap here, the reason why this one has a pretty big gap is because since it was going to be for a Rainbow Boa, I wanted it to have some elevation so that he can have some climbing. So he can do some climbing. So I wanted a nice big background. I wanted to make his almost like a vivarium. Or bioactive. I wanted to make his level bioactive, so I wanted to have a nice thick substrate and then also have some branches in there that he can climb on. But that still seems quite tall. So we'll see. But this is the good thing about this rack system is that I can make adjustments. I could always come in here and lower that and lower that one up there. We'll see what happens. Alright guys, that's it for today.
Bye! Wait! We'll both be the cameraman. No, Dooba Dooba.
Alright, guys, go. Alright,
Wait, do you need your phone for it?
I need my phone in case your mom texts me.
Okay.
Go, get out of here.
Is this hard?
Please subscribe, like, and comment that you did both of those things. And don't forget to go down there and click that little bell thingy so you know every single time my dad makes a new video. Yeah. And see you next time. Peace out. Bye.